A very good evening to you all and welcome from me, Rukidi Edward Kijanangoma, to News Tonight this Monday, the 19th day of July 2021. In sign language, it is Elizabeth Nakakoni. And let's get straight into the bulletin. President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni has joined the Muslim community across the world and also here in Uganda to celebrate this year's Eid al-Adha, the Muslims' festival of sacrifice, but with a strong message on defeating the COVID-19 monster. We have more in this.
Countrymen and countrywomen, I join the Muslim community in Uganda and across the world in the celebration of Eid al-Adha, or the festival of the sacrifice. This is the day when our Muslim brothers and sisters commemorate Prophet Ibrahim's portrayal of total faith and obedience to Allah when he accepted sacrifice his only child, Ismail. All believers are called upon to emulate Prophet Ibrahim's example of total devotion and submission to the will of Allah. May your good deeds and sacrifices be accepted and blessed by Allah. The First Lady, Mama Janet, joins me in wishing you blessed Eid al-Adha prayers and celebrations. Finally, I encourage you to observe the COVID-19 safety protocols. It is by strict observance of these protocols, the standard operating procedures, that we shall be able to defeat this monster, the COVID-19. Stay well, stay safe. Thank you.
President Yoweri Museveni wishing the Muslim fraternity in Uganda a good Eid al-Adha celebrations. Now, Workers' Member of Parliament Dr. Byakatonda Abdul has urged Muslim workers across the country to embrace the spirit of sharing while celebrating Eid al-Adha tomorrow. Byakatonda was giving his Eid al-Adha message to workers. However, due to the prevailing COVID-19 lockdown restrictions on gatherings to prevent the second wave infections, the day shall be observed and celebrated from home. Let's have more in this report.
I want to thank all the Ugandans, all the workers in Uganda upon reaching this day of Eid al-Adha. This is a day for sacrifice, but I think religiously we need to develop a number of resilience mechanisms such that we can now be able to give, because in the giving I think there is a lot of sadaqah. When you give sadaqah, you get a lot in return, and I think that's spiritually enduring. So that it's important that whenever we are doing our programs, we can actually have a number of things. And I think we want to mobilize the workers towards resilient preparedness programs, among which includes COVID. COVID has brought a number of lessons. So my appeal is that whatever we have, let's share with colleagues. Don't say you're only sharing with Muslims, because you are sharing with actually basically those who don't have. That's the background, because the day is upon when Ibrahim was going to sacrifice his son. Then God actually opened up and gave a ram. So this is a testimony that you can give colleagues and share, such that at least in sharing there is peace, there is harmony, and I think that's very important. So tomorrow I want to wish all those Muslim colleagues Eid al-Adha, and make sure that at least you share. But like it is now, you must celebrate in your homes. Several homes must have an imam. Make sure you have prayers in your houses. But that doesn't stop you from giving colleagues, so long as you don't crowd.
Workers MP Mr. Byakatonda Abdul ending that report, and of course wishing the Muslim fraternity in the country happy Eid al-Adha celebrations. Tucha Kwanzi now, where outgoing director of the National Leadership Institute, NALI Chankwanzi, and permanent secretary designate Major General David Kasura has officially handed over office to the incoming director, Brigadier General Charles Kisembo. The ceremony was presided over by the Permanent Secretary Office of the President, Haji Yunus Kakande, in the presence of the Chief of Defence Forces, General Wilson Mbasu Mbadi. Sharon Chamgisa reports.
Brigadier General Charles Kisembo is the new director of the National Leadership Institute, Chankwanzi. The position was formerly held by Major General David Kasura, who was recently appointed by the President to serve as the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Animal Industries and Fisheries. Presiding over the function, Haji Yunus Kakande, the Permanent Secretary, Office of the President, challenged Brigadier General Kisembo to transform the Institute into a complete international college for leadership so that it attracts people outside Uganda, not only limited to Ugandan participants.
This is an international institute, and the challenge I'm giving my brother here, that let's work together and see how do we make it a complete international college for leadership.
He thanked the outgoing director, Major General Kasura, for being instrumental towards implementing developmental projects at the Institute at a low cost, adding that the concept of Major General Kasura of using the Engineers Brigade for such projects is now being co-opted to build schools and other government institutions.
Major General Masiko was here, he did his part here and his contribution. Brigadier Mwesi also was here as a deputy. He did his work. He has done it tremendously well. Now, Professor Kisembo is coming. We think that also with his coming, you are giving us always quality.
The Chief of Defence Forces, General Wilson Mbadi, congratulated the outgoing director, Major General Kasura, on his appointment as the Permanent Secretary of Ministry of Agriculture, adding that Uganda's economy is hinged on agriculture.
If you mismanage agriculture, you are mismanaging Vision 2040. So when we have a caliber of Kasura going into that, now you will stop talking, go and work. So I want to congratulate you. And General Kisembo, we call him Professor, that guy. Yeah? I also want to thank you for being elevated to come and lead this institute.
The outgoing director, Major General Kasura, in his remarks said that the undoubted ability of the new director will take the institute to another level and emphasize that NALI is a special place of the revolution and revolutionary ideas which needs to be nurtured.
The officers and NALI and men of NALI are diligent, committed and professional. With your doubtless and very good committed leadership and intellectualism, with your guidance and with your undoubted ability, you will take the institute to even a higher level.
Brigadier General Charles Chisembo, the incoming director, in his remarks thanked the President and Commander-in-Chief for trusting and appointing him as director of the institute. Brigadier General Chisembo called for cooperation among the team that he will lead for the institute to achieve its objectives.
And I expect you to lend me your support. To lend me your support, as you have always done, to the outgoing commandant. Because without us working together as a team, without us creating the esprit de corps, there is nothing we can achieve.
Present at the ceremony was the Chief of Personnel and Administration, Major General George Igumba, the Chief Political Commissar, Major General Henry Masiko, Chief of Staff, Land Forces, Brigadier General Bob Ogik, Commander Field Artillery Division, Brigadier General Daniel Kakono, Brigadier General David Isimbwa, Commissioner Patriotism, Brigadier General Patrick Mwesigye, Dean of RDC's Major Martha Simwe, and senior officers of the UPDF.
Change of leadership at Chiankwanzi. Now, the government of Japan has announced its commitment to pursue the whereabouts of a Ugandan weightlifter, Julius Sechitoleko, who is reported to have gone missing from the Uganda Olympic team delegation, which is currently in Japan. The Japanese ambassador to Uganda, His Excellency Fukazawa Hidemoto, Monday morning engaged the Ugandan government through the State Minister for Foreign Affairs, Okello Oryem, on the same matter, noting that Sechitoleko will be repatriated back home very soon. We have this report courtesy of Onyango Robert.
Last week, social media users were awash with the reports of a missing Ugandan Olympian, Julius Sechitoleko, in Japan. The 20-year-old weightlifter was among the Ugandan delegation, which is in Japan, taking part in the 2020 Tokyo Games. Now the Japanese authorities have initiated a search and repatriation process for the Olympian.
So we are trying to find this gentleman and have him not find safely and return back to Uganda to meet his family.
State Minister for Foreign Affairs, Okello Oryem, says Sechitoleko's conduct is regrettable and calls for punishment to avoid future occurrences.
It is a very challenging situation when you have young men who we train, prepare to go and represent the country abroad, and then they defect and jump ship and in those countries and do not participate in the games, or they participate in the games and then disappear. This is the very reason why the police is to investigate and get at the bottom of this issue, how he became part and accredited as part of the Ugandan Olympic team.
Okello Oryem, however, waters down the argument that such acts are as a result of quench for greener pasture.
Every day we send girls here to go and look for opportunities in the Middle East, men here to go and look for work in the Middle East. But they go in using the proper avenue. They apply for a passport, we get them visas to the countries they're going to, they are recognized for going there using the legitimate way. But if you use this korokoro way of going abroad, you should be arrested.
During a high-level meeting between Uganda and Japan at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Kampala, it was agreed that the parcel for Sechitoleko takes course.
There are individuals in Japan who are illegally staying, who doesn't have a working visa and working illegally, okay? This issue and what we are facing now is different. These people went to Japan on their own passport, they applied a visa for tourist visa and are working. This gentleman is a different case, completely different.
Minister Obua, Minister for Sports, is going to Japan tomorrow. We have discussed this matter with him, and I think he was going to discuss this matter with his minister, First Lady General Museveni, and also security personnel, on how we can go and make sure that there are no further disappearance or defections by our members of the Olympic team there. So the minister is going there, the minister will be on the ground, working with the chief of missions, and will do everything possible to make sure that there is no other further disappearance.
It should be recalled that while flagging off this team at Tororo Independence Grounds, President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, among other calls, cautioned the team against indiscipline. Robert Onyango, UBC News.
Thanks, Onyango, for that report there, and of course, indiscipline and giving the country a bad image. Uganda People's Defence Forces spokesperson Brigadier General Flavia Byekwaso has mentioned two regrouping rebel groups planning to destabilize Uganda. However, Brigadier Byekwaso was quick to assure the country that UPDF is on the alert to protect and defend the citizens of Uganda from any external attack or aggression.
UPDF has confirmed the threats from neighboring DR Congo following a recent attack on UPDF camp in Zewi, Zombo district, where UPDF lost a soldier and others injured.
These bandits, or the so-called rebels, operate from the other side. They cross from the other side, coming into Uganda to mainly destabilize or cause insecurity within that area.
The Homeland Liberation and the Codec forces from Congo are in the bad eye view on Uganda's army top list of enemies to pursue under the UN Security Council framework of hot pursuit, which requires no consultations for a country to invade an enemy using territorial grounds of a neighboring country to wreak havoc.
But it was immediately foiled. 7 of the bandits were put out of action instantly. 1 gun was captured, and there are also other assorted weapons which were also captured, and these included bows, arrows, and machetes. The security of the area has been beefed up. Only the forces were there, but we've beefed up, and we have made reinforcements to ensure that there are no further incursions.
The army has also reinforced its disarmament operations in Karamoja region to combat cattle rustling.
This time round, we have even built more capacity. The force has built more capacity to ensure that these guns that are causing havoc are gotten back.
Investigations into the killing of a UPDF officer under Fisheries Protection Unit at Indese landing site in Congo Entebbe Wakiso district are ongoing. It is alleged that the officer was drowned by illegal fishermen operating on the lake.
But this even gives us more energy. It energizes us to even actually triple our efforts on these illegal fishermen, and we shall do it. This will not stop the soldiers or will not stop the security, no amount of intimidation, because they do this just to make sure that perhaps we do not, or the soldiers avoid these waters. We shall not stop, because we have a duty to make sure that the waters are safe, to make sure that the fish industry grows.
UPDF is also worried that the seditious statements and government critics on social media platforms are scaring away donors interested in supporting UPDF-led projects.
Statements to the extent of saying donors don't come, donors don't bring money here. Sometimes we are forced to come into things that we would not have wanted to do. We are forced to do certain things or to take actions or approaches that we would not have wanted. But we cannot see someone fighting Ugandans, because when you're talking about donors not coming into the country, you're kind of fighting Ugandans.
Abdul Nasil Lubwama, UBC News.
To Karamoja now, where 3rd Division Commander Brigadier General Joseph Balikudembe has received 1 gun bought from Kenya by a 25-year-old Karamojong Loki in Chumar to destabilize communities in Rupa sub-county, Moroto district. However, Balikudembe advised leaders and people to hand over and report to those with guns to authorities.
Executing Karamoja by forcefully recovering guns from the locals, some individuals have come out to hand over guns peacefully. A 25-year-old Loke in Chuma from Rupa sub-county in Moroto district handed over a gun to the 3rd Division Commander Brigadier General Bali Kudembe Joseph at Moroto Military Barracks. Loke says he bought the gun with 5 cows from Kenya and has been using it to raid. Brigadier General Bali Kudembe thanked Loke for handing over a gun peacefully.
And we have, since he has voluntarily given out the gun, we are not going to arrest him, but we shall use him to mobilize others to bring the guns voluntarily. Our operation, which started on Friday, is yielding results, both voluntary and forceful.
Although some individuals are surrendering guns peacefully, there are those hiding them, especially in Kabong and Kotido district.
Most of the leaders whom I'm talking about are the LC 1 chairpersons, LC 3 chairpersons, and even LC 5 chairpersons who can reach out to these people at sub-county level, parish level, and village level to surrender the guns. It is something that can bring peace in this sub-region.
Meanwhile, the 3rd Division Commander Brigadier General Bali Kudembe says they have started an operation to disarm Karamojongs forcefully, and they have started from Kotido and Kabong districts. Sadamu Bale, UBC News, Kampala.
Meanwhile, at least 4,000 families have been left homeless in Amolatar district. Now, this has resulted from flash floods from the rising Lake Kyoga waters, which have submerged several hundreds of kilometers in the district's land. Now, the floods have also submerged roads, disconnecting a number of communities from accessing social services in the district. Ed Olwa reports.
As the country grapples to contain the second wave of COVID-19, Amolatar district seems to be going through the worst in the country. With all the crops burnt in the gardens due to prolonged sunshine, the Peninsula district has also lost hundreds of acres of gardens and homesteads to floods from Lake Kyoga and Kwania, leaving thousands homeless.
It's over 12,000 people that have been displaced, but it is over 4,000 households that has been displaced by the rising water level.
And this is what you don't need an explanation. In fact, in a Latin maxim, is commonly referred to as res ipsa loquitur. The evidence speaks for itself. You don't need to dig deep.
We have finalized with assessment on the families that have been affected. So the immediate task now that we have is to inform the center that there is urgent need for support.
The floods have not only swallowed homesteads but also submerged several roads. Nalobuoyo is one of the sub-counties cut off by floods. For one to access a medical service at the only health center in the district, one has got to use a canoe costing between 2,000 to 3,000 shillings.
The incident of postnatal is the biggest problem here because so far like 3 mothers have gave birth on the way.
The damage began last year when both Lake Kyoga and Kwania busted its banks, swallowing all parts of the 16 sub-counties in the district in what elders believe is a repeat of what happened in 1964. Yep. Moses Junior Okotbitek is the MP of Kyoga County who wants government to rush to the rescue of the impoverished community.
Almost 80% of my salary, my first earning, I spent in giving little aid. Honorable Anyakuni from Nakapiripirit should know that our people are in dire need. The Right Honorable Prime Minister should know.
If they are not relocated, the entire land area have been submerged by water. So they need relocation to a different area. So it's beyond the district capacity.
Desperate times actually brings a lot more desperate means to catch the attention of the Prime Minister to know that if the situation is not handled, we are badly off.
Victims, however, fear they could be hit hard by famine and are calling for immediate relief supplies such as food, fast-growing seeds and shelter, among others. Ediolwa for UBC News in Amolatar district.
Thanks, Eddie, for that report, and of course, very sad that the people there are suffering as a result of those flash floods there. To Kasese now, and it is a similar situation where the leaders there are appealing to government to desilt rivers as a measure to control floods. According to the leaders there, desilting of rivers needs to be planned for by the district as a regular activity, as we hear in this report.
Member of Parliament representing Usongora South County, Gideon Mujuni says in 1950s, when Kileme Mines Company was fully operational, dislighting of River Nyamwamba was the order of the day to control disaster occurrences, such as floods. However, he says human activities of people living along river banks must be discouraged and people relocated.
Otherwise, without regular desilting, boulders block the path, the main path of the river, and to find water finds its way naturally. Then you talk of floods, displacing schools, displacing communities.
The LC chairperson Kasese District Erifazi Muhindi commended Science Hydro Limited for working together with government, especially in times of hardships. He said working in the Kilembe Road will help both the community and the company as well.
So many infrastructure, roads, buildings have been affected. Even plants, because mainly our people here are farmers. Their crops have been wasted.
Here, many people have remained homeless and infrastructure destroyed, putting a loss to both government and the taxpayer. Katega Boni, working with Science Hydro Limited, a company that has been generating power on River Nyamwamba, says since the flood, work at the plant was greatly affected and they have now started working on reopening the road that connects the plant to ease accessibility.
However, we shall be generating smoothly, and at our construction site of Nyamwamba 2, we lost about 10 penstock pipes, which we are trying to find out, and I'm sure most of them might not be repaired. We have to report from China, which is likely to take a long time.
So our humble request to the central government that can we have these rivers desilted?
Now, members of parliament have faulted Arua District COVID-19 task force for failing to enforce presidential guidelines on the pandemic. The MPs claim upon arrival at the district headquarters at night, people were moving normally and night clubbing was the order at a hotel where they slept. Now, in the next report after our break, our reporter Philip Aguta will be looking at what is happening in that area.
As the financial year 2020-2021 draws to an end, URA has put measures in place to facilitate taxpayers to file their returns and pay taxes within the set deadline. All our offices across the country and the URA Contact Center shall remain open to provide extra support to our esteemed taxpayers. Additionally, we have extended our contact center service hours from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. Monday to Friday and from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays and public holidays. In light of the COVID-19 risks, we encourage taxpayers to reach us through our improved contact center and other online platforms instead of making physical visits to our offices. For online support, please reach us through our toll-free lines 0800 117 000 or 0800 217 000. Email services@ura.go.ug. Website ura.go.ug. Social media: Facebook, URA page, Twitter @URA Uganda. Customs Help Tool, help.ura.go.ug/login. URA appreciates all taxpayers who have duly fulfilled their obligations. Stay safe and let us all observe the standard operating procedures to prevent further spread of the COVID-19 virus. Stay safe as we develop Uganda together.
Uganda Revenue Authority, developing Uganda together.
We've cut and reduced our MTN MoMo withdrawal rates. Now you can withdraw mobile money at the lowest rates. You also get MTN Central Points when you deposit, send, and withdraw MTN mobile money. Visit our MoMo agents countrywide and withdraw mobile money at our reduced rates from 1st May 2021. Everywhere you go, MTN.
In efforts to improve quality assurance and Uganda's competitiveness as a tourist destination, Uganda Tourism Board is set to undertake a nationwide grading and classification exercise of hotel and accommodation facilities. As a member of the East African community, Uganda subscribes to the East African Grading and Classification Criteria, a system denoted by stars ranging from 1 to 5. The grading and classification exercise will be crowned by the awarding of star ratings to facilities found compliant to the EAC minimum standards. This is therefore a call to all accommodation and facility owners and managers to register and get licensed by UTB as a requirement and get ready for participation. For more information, visit www.utb.go.ug or email qualityassurance@utb.go.ug for details. Uganda Tourism Board, promoting tourism together.
A human rights defender is anyone working to promote and protect human rights in a non-violent manner. This often exposes them to risk. Are you a woman human rights defender, a journalist, legal professional, youth and/or person with a disability engaged in defending the rights of others, and your right has been violated or abused in the process, or you have encountered someone defending people's rights whose rights have been violated? Contact the National Coalition of Human Rights Defenders Uganda on toll-free line 0800 100 250. Or helpline 0778 576 852.
Welcome back from that break, and this is News Tonight here on UBC TV, and we are glad that you've made UBC TV your channel of choice. On sign language, it is Elizabeth Nakakoni, and I am Rukidi Edward Kijanangoma. Now let's go back to that story that we introduced before the break, where members of parliament have faulted Arua District COVID-19 task force for failing to enforce presidential guidelines on the pandemic. The MPs, of course, claim upon arrival at the district headquarters at night, people were moving normally and night clubbing was the order at a hotel where they slept. Here is our reporter, Philip Anguta.
You have successfully run a district without lockdown. You have successfully run a district without lockdown. Successfully. And we are big witnesses to this. Actually,
there was a clash between members of parliament and Arua District Task Force over enforcement of COVID-19 guidelines. The MPs allege the task force is not enforcing COVID-19 guidelines. The MPs further claim that when they entered Arua District in the night, people were moving normally, and at the hotel where they slept, there was a nightclub.
The RCC, DHO, Mr. Mayor, if the rate of infection is increasing, you guys are responsible. You are responsible because you have decided to selectively implement the president's directive. Where we slept last night, there was disco, real disco, transnight.
And some ambulances were firing what?
Dancers.
We found ambulances firing people who are going to dance. This is serious. As we arrived on our bus, we saw more than 10 ladies, 10 young girls getting up, and we said, where are these people? Are they sick? And then when we entered the hotel, we found there is real disco in that hotel. Real disco. Over 200 people squeezed in a small place.
Night.
What is the leadership doing here? The president issued a directive, you people are, and then you have closed all the other places, you are allowing a few to open. What kind of selective justice is that? Huh?
You deserve to be arrested.
Without mentioning names, district, city leadership get to find out what is going on. I am sure it's not just one place.
The challenge, it is a crisis. It is a crisis. When we came yesterday night, we passed at around 8. I asked my colleague, is Arua City under a curfew or they're under a different situation. Today morning, I walked from the hotel to the bank. I asked myself, is Arua City under lockdown? Borders are moving, ferrying people. Even next to where there's a police checkpoint. You can check right now, it will not pass 5 minutes. You'll see them ferrying people. Are we in a lockdown? To me, I've seen this is not a lockdown, this is a lockup. Everything is now high. People are moving even worse than a lockdown situation.
However, the acting district police commander of Arua portioned the blame on politicians. DPC's utterances attracted some bitter exchanges with MPs.
Others can witness where the disco was, the MPs were there. That one I stand and put myself here. There was deployment of UPDF brought by the MPs themselves. So how do we implement this if we are being let down?
Who are those MPs? Who are those MPs? Who are those MPs? And those who did the deployment.
One honorable.
I thought you were coming to apologize.
One honorable.
Turn all your information through the chair.
You have all the power to arrest anyone.
Can we please?
Do you mean to tell us that you are failing your responsibility?
I was clear in my communication. I say,
we have come to look for solution, not to accuse anybody. We are saying there's no curfew. That's what we are saying. And we are not victimizing you.
And if he's being frustrated by the local leaders, you also explain.
Now, if you are being frustrated by the local leaders, let us know. But not the MPs. You say that is how you cover. That's how you cover issues, and there is no lockdown. I found it. The carelessness with which you answer is the very reason why there is no lockdown. We have come to save the life of the people. If I find not to look forward, we already have fault finding. I found accept, we saw we are naked eyes. Accept, translate. What see. So please tell us that, comrade. And secondly, the issue of vehicles, don't repeat here. In all towns, people patrol on foot. Lockdown is locked on a vehicle and on foot. It all locked down the country.
You asked him, where those were dancing MPs? Those were dancing, were they MPs?
So please, first apologize before you proceed. Apologize on TV for saying we deployed UPDF. We don't command UPDF. Apologize first and then you proceed.
Honorable,
please.
I am not sorry for what I said. I cannot apologize for what I have said. And if it is a miscommunication that you got, I am sorry. I did not say that you deployed. I said there was deployment. And I said,
who did the deployment?
My communication was clear. I said,
who deployed?
Who deployed?
Honorable, I said, and I'm clearly saying that when you get such deployment, you don't rush to act because you might end up getting fired on or friendly fire. You wait in the morning. You wait in the morning.
Mr. DPC, I think this is interesting. You are the district police commander in charge of this city. If you got to know in the night that the UPDF was deployed, did you go there?
Ask management.
Did you? Because this is serious. This allegation against the UPDF is false. I am even tempted to believe you were busy dancing. Because you came. This is serious.
Because you came.
You are in charge of security in this city. You got to know, and you are telling us there was who deployed. Who deployed? Give us the
who deployed.
MPs attributed the high infection rates in Arua City to the failure of the district task force to enforce COVID-19 guidelines. Arua has the highest COVID infection rates in the north with about 37, meaning that out of 100 people tested, 37 test positive with COVID. In the same vein, the hospital administrator was also on spotlight over the mismanagement of the hospital and the lack of teamwork, which he says the problem he inherited from the previous administration.
Director, you admitted that there are long-standing issues within the district. It has also been reported that, and by you, and by the community, that you are not ready to work as a team with the local authority, and that the local authority cannot supervise you. I think you are here to join the rest of the local leaders so that you work as a team. Now, I hear that you have chased even some people who have raised some issues concerning you. You have chased them from the hospital. This hospital is not yours. And as a medical doctor, You're supposed to treat even your enemies.
I submit. I need to admit and inform you that I'm about to make 2 years in this hospital, and many of these conditions we are talking about, I found them there. I've dealt with what I can, what I may not. We need to deal with it, and I therefore request, as my entry point, that we need stakeholders' engagement, especially strategic direction, in line with the political health agenda of the region that will sort out this hospital.
The situation was calmed after the intervention of the chairperson of the Parliamentary Committee on COVID-19, currently in West Nile.
Arua should be asking themselves, what lessons can we learn from Gulu, where there seems to be harmony between the political heads, the hospital, the university, and the PNFP. What are the learning lessons? But whenever I come to Arua, like we said, there seems to be North and South Korea, where there is a rift between the local politicians and the technocrats at the regional referral hospital. There are so many challenges. It's a regional referral that is so close to an international border. We should be asking ourselves as MPs, can we have more allocation? Because
Philip Aguta, UBC News in Arua.
Before that break, and of course, that is the situation in Arua, as most people there are not observing the SOPs put in place by the government in order to, avert the spread of COVID-19. To Moroto now, where residents of Morikatipe sub-county in Tororo have given the district works department up to 14 days to construct a Samba bridge that was washed away by floods 8 months ago, or else get ready to welcome them in their offices. They say ever since the bridge broke down, accessibility of social services has become difficult, coupled with loss of lives. Now, the statement was made during a peaceful demonstration as locals expressed their disappointment.
The Saba bridge connecting the 3 sub-counties of Osukuru, Kwapa and Toro municipality broke down 8 months ago following a heavy downpour. And since then, nothing has been done by the authorities to fix the bridge, making movements of goods and people within and out of localities very difficult. One has to foot through the broken bridge to access the other side. This has made the majority of the population in area to desert the road and opt for the longer routes to get services. With movements being hard, lives and properties allegedly said to have been lost due to poor state of the bridge. The community have come together to express their disappointments. These blame the collapse of the bridge to poor engineering works done by the contractors who were given the road.
If you look at the materials now, even if it is you now, the news reporters, look at the materials. Trucks of cement have been ferried here. And people have not been allowed to come and monitor this thing. When you come monitoring, you find that they ship you away from the site.
I remember when the contractor was here, we came as the community because it is our right to monitor government projects, to assess how these projects are bringing to us. But the contractor did not allow us. The contractor told the district officials, the district engineer, that if we are monitoring him, they will stop. So they feel we are ignorant.
It is actually waste of resources in this country. Because in such a bridge, the government might have located here about, even should be 600 or 800 million to act on this bridge. And this bridge has been washed 3 times.
With the situation now becoming unbearable, locals have now given District Works Department not more than 14 days, or else come up with Plan B.
This is not a joke. This is a matter of about life or death. Because already people have perished here. Why don't they come to intervene? Do we love to see our people die, even if it is you? Would you be happy to see your people die? Nobody has a right to take life of anybody. There is no discussion about that. We are not willing, and we are giving a district an ultimatum of 14 days.
But, according to the district engineer, Andrew Asaya, funds allocated to Works Department are meager to rectify the said bridge. This means the locals will wait for a while.
Each of those bridges would require a minimum. The least cost you'd associate with installing those bridges could be approximately 300 million shillings. 300 million shillings time is approximately 7 or 10 swamps, that is really 3 billion shillings. And yet the district is getting only 700 million shillings for maintenance of the district roads. The district road network stands at 665 kilometers. So you can imagine how we are constrained.
Government, where are you? Government, where are you?
Residents of Morikatipe in Tororo having their say there in as far as Sabasaba bridge construction is concerned. Now, members of parliament have been given an opportunity to present unfulfilled government pledges from their respective constituencies to the Committee of Government Assurances and Implementation. Now, the committee chairperson Betty Namboze Bachireke says this will help in tracing 75 trillion shillings worth of unfulfilled pledges over a period of more than 30 years. This was during the maiden meeting sitting of the Government Assurances Committee of Parliament, whose 37 members have pledged commitment and teamwork towards effective service delivery. Henry Okrut reports.
To read through. It was a moment of commitment, appreciation and assurance as the Parliamentary Committee on Government Assurances and Implementation held its maiden meeting.
Some people already don't know. Mr. Museveni has already paid them, but they have never received the money. And this is where you are going to find a lot of resistance. Those people, the handlers of the president, sometimes money does not reach the beneficiaries.
Betty Namboze, the chairperson of the committee, says manifestos of all political parties represented in Parliament will be examined, whereas majority of the committee members are from the ruling National Resistance Movement. Namboze calls for teamwork.
When you have a trip, you shall deposit your transport on your account. If you don't go and sign in those attendance books, or you go in one day, you disappear, I will not hesitate to write to the accountant to deduct that money from you in your next salary.
Members, all of whom are new on the committee, pledged cooperation, commitment and energy towards this new task.
And I want to pledge that much as there are more people of the ruling party here, I'm sure that what is important is what are we discussing. It should not be a party issue, but the issues at hand.
It is part of the orientation, and a great many of us are new. So we don't want to plunge into the waters without really knowing how to hold the rudder. So I really think that is very critical for us to be able to go forward.
We promise to work with you under your leadership, and I'm sure we shall make this committee the best.
Earlier, Namboze had expressed discomfort in meeting the head of state in case need arose. These fears were, however, allayed by Namutumba District Woman Member of Parliament, Mariam Naigaga.
But the principle of democracy provides that the majority takes the day, but the minority should also be heard.
We have confidence in you as our chair. Majority of members on this committee are NRM, and we are looking forward to working with you to ensure we achieve what the Ugandans put in consideration is to put the party NRM into power.
In so doing, the committee will be effective towards meeting its objectives.
And we are very optimistic that we're going to sit down and
trace as far back as we can go to find out what pledges government has made to Ugandans and how far those pledges have been implemented. If they have not been implemented, why?
Focus will be on tracing government pledges spanning over 30 years, amounting to about 75 trillion Uganda shillings. To achieve this, orientation of committee members has been recommended, a reason why a retreat about the same is programmed to take place. Henry Okurut, UBC.
From Parliament, let's go to Uganda Police, where the Uganda Police Directorate of Training has signed a memorandum of understanding with Makerere University, where senior superintendents of police will undergo a one-year master's degree in peace and conflict management. The arrangement comes timely when the public is perceiving police, an entity that is supposed to keep law and order, as an enemy of the public when it comes to public order management. However, at the signing of the MOU, Assistant Inspector General of Police Godfrey Goloba, who doubles as the Director of Training at Uganda Police, said the course will help cement the relationship between security and the public.
Also here in Uganda, we are also religiously the most diverse country you can think of, and therefore our police has a big challenge to manage these very different people in this small country, and they need to be very highly professionally trained. As Makerere University, we are very happy to be affiliated. Yeah, okay. We are very happy to be affiliated with the police college. And we have been having programs together with the police, but this time we are going to work together on a master in peace and conflict resolution.
As you know, there has been a lot of, I don't want to say outcry, but complaints about how we perform our duties, and the Inspector General of Police deemed it important to start training once again, as it used to be. And Police Command and Staff College was opened 6 or so years ago, and we have been dealing with a different university, which is from Costa Rica.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, UN University for Peace. But we looked at it and said, you know, I think we have enough capacity in Uganda to teach the same program as as those people were doing. And
this MOU with you and look.
COVID-19 chijja kugwa. If we get vaccinated now, observe social distancing, wear a mask properly, sanitize or wash our hands with soap and water regularly. Together we can defeat this enemy.
It's no secret that ICT makes learning easy.
The strides made in our field could not be possible without it.
And now we can watch our favorite show.
My radio is my best friend.
UCC provides an enabling regulatory environment and policy guidance for healthy competition. We also facilitate ease of doing business in the communications sector through licensing, standardization, spectrum management, tariff regulation, rural communication development, and consumer empowerment. An informed consumer is an empowered consumer. UCC supports local content and innovations. Driving the development of a robust communication sector in Uganda is Uganda Communications Commission.
Welcome back from that short break, and this is News Tonight here on UBC TV. Now, State Minister for Karamoja Affairs Agnes Nandutu has appealed to leaders in Karamoja sub-region to consider ending insecurity in a period of 100 days. Nandutu said this while meeting local government leaders, RDCs, KRAL leaders and women peace committees from Kabong and Kotido districts.
Karamoja sub-region is facing many challenges such as cattle wrestling, poor performance of learners in schools, food scarcity, among others. But insecurity in the region is a big threat to many since cattle is stolen almost every day, coupled with killings, among other challenges.
For the last 6 months, that is January to July or end of June, we have had about 17,000 animals. These are cows, goats, sheep, and donkeys stolen, and a few of those recovered by the army.
In the last 2 months, for example, we have had armed warriors, most of them youth, in big groups of about 200. They come armed with 20 to 30 guns, but the rest are carrying bows and arrows. And they have been targeting big kraals, 500 to 1,500 heads of cattle.
However, women here blame the insecurity on their husbands who are involved in cattle raids.
Government should look at the women involvement in the peace initiatives, which is very important, because even the effect of this insecurity affects the woman more, because my cows have been stolen, my son has been killed, my husband has been killed, my property has been removed.
The LC5 chairperson Mary Jimo Bernard and the RDC Captain Chris Michael Kiria wants government to provide good feeding programs for learners at schools, setting up oxygen plant at Kabong Hospital, compensating those who lost animals, among others. In the security meeting held in Kotido and Kabong district, the State Minister for Karamoja Affairs Agnes Nandutu tasked leaders to work towards ending insecurity within 100 days.
Just 100 days. It is 3 months of returning the guns voluntarily, or we take them from you by force. Just 3 months to return peace in Karamoja completely, once and forever.
Minister Agnes Nandutu having tough words there to the people of Karamoja sub-region. Back to the city of Kampala, where Kampala resident city commissioner Hudu Hussein has refuted allegations that he ordered security operatives to use maximum force while enforcing COVID-19 guidelines. Hussein says the cases received concerning brutality are isolated and cannot overshadow the progress police and other security agencies have made. Sudat Kaye with more.
The implementation of the COVID-19 guidelines has in some instances made many to violate them, thus compelling police and sister security agencies to apply reasonable force. However, a section of the public has on several occasions alleged that the maximum force meted on was an order made by Kampala resident city commissioner Hudu Hussein. But speaking in an interview, the RCC downplayed allegations made against him.
The force which has been used by some officers has been reported to be more than necessary. For that, we regret. It's not right to use unreasonable force in enforcing the directives or the SOPs, and contrary to what some fake media reports have put out there. I have never, and I will never order the police or any other security agencies to unjustifiably beat the common people. As the RCC of Kampala, I can never do such a thing. So,
Hudu Hussein says the propaganda is being spearheaded by self-seeking politicians to destroy his reputation. The resident city commissioner has also condemned leaders that have deliberately lied to the public about the COVID-19 cash relief disbursed by government to the vulnerable persons in Kampala and other cities and municipalities across the country.
It's sad that some leaders have deliberately lied to the public about this money so as to disabuse its intent. It has been reported that some people in the opposition who are spreading false information about relief money, there is a section of opposition leaders who feel they are not relevant enough, and they think that by speaking about relief food, they will become relevant. You must have seen some leaders, and we appreciate, have given a bunch of matoke worth 5,000 or 10,000 and some 10 kilograms of posho, a budget of 15,000. And they want to make it appear like it's more than 100,000 that the government has given each individual. So for them, they think by discrediting the government, they are winning. We want to appreciate opposition members who are trying to reach out to the people, genuinely helping the people. And we are really against those who are trying to use this for their selfish motives.
Hussein says COVID-19 relief should not be assumed as a wealth creation fund, but rather an emergency support for the vulnerable persons affected with the partial lockdown.
And that report brings us to the end of news tonight. Thank you so much for having kept us company. On sign language, it has been Elizabeth Nakakoni, and I am Kid Edward Kijanangoma, wishing you a very blessed night, but I'll leave you with Molly Kutesa with the weather forecast for tomorrow. Good night.
Good evening once again. Kutesa Mili with your weather update. We are still having light showers most parts of the country, but many in northern part of our region and across lake shores, but other parts of the country are experiencing sunny intervals. And this is due to the ridging over the tip of South Africa that has kept the rain belt in the northern part of our country, plus the moist air mask advecting from Congo air mask towards our country, enhanced with local effects, bringing us the weather that we are experiencing lately. Tomorrow morning, though, we expect to wake up with light showers in some islands across Lake Victoria, some parts of the east and the northern part of our region. But across Karamoja regions towards the southwestern of our country is expected to have sunny intervals. Afternoon hours, we expect a pickup of light showers across most parts of the country, apart from some few areas still in the southwestern of our region that is expected to continue with sunny intervals. Temperature is up 29 degrees Celsius of maximum across Karamoja regions and northern part of our country, 27 in our capital city Kampala, Kabale Highlands with a lowest of 24 degrees Celsius. Kasese is still pretty high with a maximum of 30 degrees Celsius. He is moving out of our country, touring other cities across the globe. We are forecasting sunny conditions across Abu Dhabi and Washington, D.C. with a maximum of 41 degrees Celsius in Abu Dhabi. This is still also hot with 32 degrees of maximum. Cape Town is expected to have light showers. There is a maximum of 13 degrees Celsius only. Thanks for tuning on UBC. I remain Dr. Samili. Stay tuned and see you tomorrow.
The Honorable Minister of Public Service informs the general public that Tuesday, the 20th of July 2021 is Eid al-Adha and will be observed as a public holiday throughout Uganda. Due to the prevailing COVID-19 lockdown restrictions on gatherings to prevent the second wave in